And then, welcome to Matrix Talk. What are we doing today? We're doing introduction.
We're going back to the beginning.
With the ACT matrix. We'll do a little bit of that, a little of this, a little of that. We had Stefan online. Some folks, we're in the summer doldrums. We'll get started here. Do a bit. But first of all, I bring your attention to the screen before you, which is register for APA approved training events. And really the big one there, folks, if you're looking down and you'll see ACT as pattern recognition. You ought to do that.
Yeah, start there.
I would start there, right. It's 1 hour, easy to do, and you will see the culmination of many years of work.
It's cutting edge stuff, folks.
It's absolutely the cutting edge. So
you won't find it anywhere else.
And come on, it's 1 CE. What do we got? 1995 on it? It cost you $19.95. Cutting edge stuff. Somewhere in the upper right, you can follow us, which is a nice thing to do.
Yep.
And in the lower right, you can chat. Got a little bit of chat going on. Looks like Stefan's not feeling well.
Sorry to hear that.
And so, and I read his little line on his thing. It says about counselor and psychotherapist in private practice, integrating family systems, ACT, interpersonal neurobiology, and symbol work. Good for you.
Yeah.
Definitely. Move.
Nice.
What else? What do you got, Phil?
What do I got?
On this fine Monday in the middle of August.
Not much. We went to the shore yesterday. That was fun.
Oh, wow. I went to see Oppenheimer.
Did you?
I did.
And?
It was great.
Okay.
If you, it's a bit intellectual, maybe.
Yep.
You don't have to know quantum physics. You're okay without it.
Good.
The politics are same all over, which is a lot about that. So no, quite good, quite good. My wife and daughter went to see the Barbie movie.
Ha.
They didn't think I was.
You didn't do a what's it call it? A Barbenheimer? Is that what they call it? People that go to see the Barbie and then they go to see Oppenheimer. They were doing that like in the same day. Some of them.
Yeah, I didn't do that. No.
Okay.
But it's very well done. The acting's superb. Everything. I highly recommend it. One of my science teachers in junior high worked at Los Alamos on the Manhattan Project.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah, wow. He was reportedly at that time, at least the rumor was had the highest IQ in Oklahoma. But,
well, who was going to dispute that?
Yeah. So who knows? Now, great man, really great guy. And but he wouldn't talk too much about those days. I think maybe because it was pretty secret.
I'll bet. I'll bet.
I don't know what he was working on, but they built a whole town.
Los Alamos, right?
Yeah, built a whole town.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned this because I watched a documentary. It's called The Strangest Dream. It's about the story of Joseph Rotblat, Rotblat. He was asked to come over as part of the Liverpool group to work in Los Alamos and work with those folks.
Wow.
And he actually left and became he was the first to call out the dangers of the radiation, and then later on got together with Bertrand Russell and was campaigning against nuclear armaments altogether. But the documentary is called The Strangest Dream. It's really very well done.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah. they even represented that opposition stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if Rotblat shows up in the movie.
I don't know, but that opposition was represented
Yeah.
best they could. So it was, and of course
Oh
that.
yeah.
Oh, no, well done. I would highly recommend anybody see it, or
I'm gonna get
if you
around
wait
to it at some
another
point.
30, 60 days, it'll finally come out on streaming.
Yep.
The guy who directed it insisted, I think for the first many weeks anyway, it has to be in the theaters. Anyway, I like that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
I used to study a bit of that. You know.
And looks like Stephen's experiencing a warm winter, he says.
It's deep winter, but 25. Wow. Yeah, that is warm.
Wow.
How weird.
And there's
Hey,
Mary.
Mary,
Good morning, Mary.
We're just chatting. We're just having a little fun till people show up. So, introduction to ACT. Some of you probably know ACT if you're showing up here. And maybe some of you don't. Uliana. I don't know where she's from. Wow, that's a great name. Uliana Jaworska. Wow.
Cool.
Maybe she's a tennis player. Those are the kind of names I read when I go to watch tennis. I'm always trying to figure out how to pronounce them. Gabriella.
And there's Juliana from the
Ukraine.
UK.
I did so you.
Welcome.
From the Ukraine. Oh man, the tennis player from the Ukraine. God dang it, blew her name.
Was it Navratilova? Was she the one?
No, can't think of that. But there's a number like ranked 2 in the world.
Yeah, maybe Juliana
Tennis
knows.
player from Ukraine right now. But from Ukraine, well, good luck over there in the Ukraine.
Really?
Well, we'll give you a little ACT. And Ulia, are you familiar with ACT? I'm probably just butchering her name. That's drawback from being from Oklahoma. The accent sort of automatically butchers names.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe I'm trying to get a read on, well, the level of. Now, I've been hanging around ACT since 2004 or so nigh on 20 years now. Wow, that's something. See a smiley face. Okay. And Phil's been around it quite a while as well.
Yeah, since about 07, 08, something like that.
So how should we start? Man, it's always difficult because if you start with an explanation, then folks think that you should start ACT with an explanation.
Yeah, we're always tiptoeing around that.
And then, but we don't really want to explain. We want to get people into the process.
It's always been my way to go.
We'll do like we usually do, show the process, then explain.
Yeah. Demonstrate,
Okay.
participate, explain.
Okay.
Let's go that way.
We'll go that way. Okay. We try to do this right, folks. There we go. Oh, Phil's going to be larger. First, we're going to show you the ACT process. Okay. And the senses at top, mind at the bottom, contentment to the right, relief to the left. Training with Russ Harris and others find a good tool for my clients. There we go.
Yep.
So you start with those cross lines and senses at the top, mind, and feeling of relief to the left, contentment. You don't have to talk about that, just write it down. The main part of the process starts with who's important to you. And so you identify who's important. You ask, in the kindest of terms, who's important to you. And you can say, for example, in my case, my wife is important to me. So Phil will write down wife. And if somebody were with me, I would write down light on the whiteboard. We would get started there, and then anybody with us can answer
Liana,
who's important to you.
Mary. Yeah.
And
Just blurt it out.
what do you think? Or maybe you're some of those folks who don't have anybody who's important to you.
Yeah. Could be.
That would be rather rare.
Like I put my son down, you know, it's
We got son, so wife, my wife, Phil's son, Stephanie,
even kind of somebody I'm betting you
Juliana, maybe she's Sabalenka. Adriana, something Sabalenka is the name of the. But dogs, yay, dogs.
there we go.
I have important dogs too.
Dogs.
Oh, and you can throw down whoever you want, folks. It's anybody. It's just who's important to you. And as I said, we're starting the process. So the next thing you want to talk about to get the process going is yucky stuff. You say, well, what kind of yucky stuff shows up inside of people? You know, like fear. Fear shows up in folks. And it doesn't feel good. So here in the USA, we say it's yucky. It's yucky feeling. What other kind of yucky stuff shows up inside of people?
I go, Stephen, my wife, my church, community, clients, Sammy the dog, children. Oh, all right.
Wow, he got a whole list.
Oh, yeah, Juliana's got
anger,
stuff,
rage.
anger and rage.
Got stuff on the left, stuff on the right. Yay. And Phil is
I'm scribing.
scribing away.
I'm scribing away.
There we go. So there we got that stuff. So the lower part is internal stuff. Other people can't see it. So you know in your heart of hearts who's important to you. And you know deep down your yucky stuff that shows up inside of you. Hopelessness. Oh my. That's a popular one. Hopeless.
I've been hearing a bit of that.
Despair is also
There.
that's
There we
popular.
go.
Imposter syndrome has really been on the hit parade for quite some time. We got this. Oh, I think he put in the same one twice. So yes, imposter syndrome is a biggie. So you get the idea. So lots of stuff, but everything below is inside of you, and it's not observable to the outside world.
Am I sick? There you go.
Yeah. Now, once you go to the upper part, this is observable behavior. So we do the upper left one first, and that's observable behaviors that we do to get relief. So, for example, I mentioned fear, so I might run to get away from something, to reduce my fear. What else we get up there? Anger.
Anger.
What's a popular thing to do if you're angry? I have my favorites.
Oh, you know, there are many, many ways to get relief from anger.
Oh, drinking.
Drink swear words. Oh, yes, all at the same time.
At the same time and drink. So we got, now we have, so Ukraine drinks and Australia drinks. So they have something in common. Punch walls. Well, that's popular.
Where now we're talking.
Just don't hit the stud.
Really?
Punch partner. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
That's domestic violence.
Yep. There you go.
Oh, wish your enemies to die. That's a very popular one. At least around the dinner table. That's a popular one. So you get the idea. So stuff that you can say out loud, and if you say it out loud, it's observable. If you do it, it's observable. It's just observable stuff. Stefan says, "Not me." Okay.
No.
In the upper right, we put behaviors that you do to approach what's important to you. So, for my wife, I go talk to her. And you can see me doing that. So it's observable.
For my son, go to the beach.
Go to the beach. There you go. Once again, observable. And it's
Got
done
dog.
in the service of the relationship, wife, son, dogs. I called up and scheduled two of my dogs to go to the groomers today. How's
Take to the groomer.
that? That was
Gonna
get
get
the idea.
seek out a friend to talk to.
Seek out a friend. There, go talk to a friend. So you guys get the idea. And now, with that in place, actually, that's all you have to put in place. Go to an AA meeting. And so now you have the basic ACT process in place, which is, now that you can look at that, you can notice who's important to you. Check. You can notice yucky stuff showing up. Check. You can notice yourself doing relief moves. Check. And you can notice yourself doing approach moves. Upper right, check. And all that notice goes right in the middle, which is really not in the middle, it's up above it. But
It's kind of hovering over
drawing 3D like that is really tough.
Yeah.
I got a message from my wife, and she's
Oh.
very important to me. So hold on.
Yes.
What's she telling me? Oh, she's going up to the office. Okay, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
I had to make sure of that. And so that's what, see, I paused and made sure my wife was.
And we're going to say that your wife did something important. Text her husband. Text your
And
husband.
she texted me, and I checked and was like, oh, cool. Okay, we're good. So now, and we notice all of that stuff, and now you've done, as far as ACT goes, you've done the entire process. You've done the acceptance and commitment process, which leads to acceptance and commitment training, acceptance and commitment therapy, whatever you want to call it. You've done the whole process. So Act 101 here, folks. The outcome of ACT is a process. And that's where it diverts off far away from traditional psychotherapy.
Boy, does it.
And because in that statement, it's really saying a lot. It's not. What it's saying is that you're not looking for less depression, less anxiety. You're not looking to reduce or fix anything. The aim is to get into a process of living that works for where you want to go in life. That's it. So where do you want to go in life? Lower right, who's important to you? We know from tons of research and all kinds of other stuff that the number one thing with people is those who are important to them. Yeah. I mean, you ask people on their deathbed, any regrets? If they have any, it's usually that I didn't spend enough time with my loved ones. You almost never get, I wish I'd spent more time at work, or I wish I'd spent more time making money, or wish I'd made more, made more widgets. No. I want to run.
Not what people say.
And so ACT runs off that thing of, in traditional ACT, they call it values. So one of your big values, humans' big values, is who's important to them. So Phil and I, instead of using the sort of fancy word of values, and with clients, there's lots of clients that the word values, it's a tough word. So We just learned with our clientele not to use it.
Okay.
Who,
So that's the
who,
way
do,
it starts.
who do you want to be? Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
Lots of ways to start.
but that is a very consistent way of putting it. Who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And usually at the end of the day, that's defined off of your relationships with others who are important to you. That's what it ends up being.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of the process. So now you got a direction. If you're looking in a traditional ACT book, you'll see the words valued life direction. Okay. Stefan is what do you want to be? So if I'm striving and doing behaviors toward who I want to be, that's a direction. Always has that direction. It's me here now, me there out there in the future, heading to where I want to go.
Heading out to something. All of me. All of me.
There's an action, there's a directionality to act, to doing it, which results in a state of being, which is a strange thing, but we'll get to that. So the acceptance. So now we got the commitment part. I'm committed to that direction. Check. Okay. The next thing is, well, life shows up and gets in the way of you doing that stuff. And a lot of that stuff is yucky stuff that we call it. It's the fears and the anxieties and the imposter syndrome stuff and all kinds of stuff that shows up that doesn't feel good. And a human's natural inclination when you have yucky feelings inside is you want to get rid of them. Very natural. And if you're sick, you want to do things to get better. Oh, if you're in pain, you want to do things to reduce the pain. If you have very high anxiety, you want to do things to reduce the anxiety. If you have severe depression, you want to do things to not be so depressed. This is very natural, folks. Very, very natural. And that can monumentally get in the way of you doing stuff to move toward your direction. It can derail you. So, and the rub of it is you can't give up all the relief moves. It's not that you're suddenly going to stop doing the entire left side of the matrix and devote 365 over to doing valued life direction. As Stefan knows, he's got a virus today. Life doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Life hasn't checked in with your virus, has it, Stefan?
No. And you get up, and if you don't feel good, some loved one doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of life happens.
It is rough.
And so the process is, okay, how can I notice myself doing the relief moves? And that's fine, but not so much that I'm totally giving up my approach side. Because if I go all the way left, I've checked out of life. Go all the way right, well, I'm going to die. You got to be doing. You got to avoid stuff, folks. And if you don't, a good example of that is go out and drive a car. If you don't avoid, that is, do relief stuff while you're driving a car, you're going to end up dead.
Yeah.
In a real hurry.
Yeah. You can try doing all left turns to see if you get to where you want to get. But it's probably not going to work.
It's not going to work. It just won't. So that's the process that we're referring to, and that's why I summed it up in the matrix. I just summed it up as here's a way to show people this whole process. And so in showing that process, that's really all you need to do. And I know I just said a horrible thing.
Again, you said that horrible thing.
And now we get into the history of philosophy of psychotherapy.
Oh man. Yes.
What a mess. By the way, that was in Oppenheimer as well. Of course, he was in the days of Freud and I'm blanking on
Michael and
people too. But anywho's stuff. You mean get out of the way? You mean get out of the way? You mean get out of the way?
Get out of the way of a bus coming at you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and the traffic example, very much so.
Yeah.
If somebody is coming at you, you want to avoid.
Ooh.
And if you drive a big enough vehicle that you don't have to avoid, I guess like a tank, okay, but that probably has its limits.
Well, there's things you want to avoid when you're riding a tank too.
So yeah, it's difficult to. You're not going to live life without avoidance. It's not going to. So the process then becomes, how am I going to work this all together so that the sum of it gets me where I want to go in life? That's it. That's what you're doing. So that is done from that noticing spot there, and it's called the observer self. And you'll see that referred to in the ACT books that you read, the observer self. So you need never mention the observer self because the observer self comes on board.
It just shows up.
It shows up. It's just there. You don't have to worry about it. It'd be like saying, well, in order to be a human, I need to understand atoms.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Or breathing.
Yeah. I know. You don't. You don't need to know any of that stuff. Now, with that said, it is a verbal psychotherapy, and so we're using words to help people get into the process. And the number one part of the process is make sure they're focused on moving their life in a direction they want to go. The whole idea. That's it. That's why they have values in it. That's why you're doing it. So that's number one. Number two, you're going to acknowledge, I have yucky stuff.
Boom.
Okay.
Validation.
Sometimes I do stuff to get rid of it. Yay.
More validation.
And sometimes I do stuff to approach who's important to me. Yes.
Yay.
And is that package working to get me where I want to go in life? And I think somebody calls it wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
That's the process, folks. Well, what do you do next? Do that again.
Come back down here.
And when lost, go to the lower right quadrant and restart at who's important. Phil and I use that
Every day.
Who's important to us, and we go to there. So that's what so it's a process. And once you get comfortable with that the outcome is a process, it's a lot easier. It won't stay easy because people are going to show up and they want to be fixed.
Yep.
I have no way of preventing that.
I don't have the fix.
I mean, in that regard, we have it. I don't know about other places. I don't even know about, well, I guess Ukraine's pretty Western, really, pretty European. Yeah. Well, I know it is in Russia, so yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of people that want to get fixed. They come to psychotherapy and they arrive at psychotherapy, and it's essentially, I want to be fixed.
Fix me.
And that's a mechanistic way of looking at things. Fault, if you want to point fingers, it's point your fingers at the Industrial Revolution, where we became used to machines and fixing machines. So the metaphor for a human became a machine. And you've seen this. An artificial intelligence has really taught all kinds of human android kind of looking things. Man, machines, woman, machines, machines, machines. So, but no, you don't fix people. I mean, if you're a surgeon, you can fix their broken bones and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That kind of stuff. But human mind, yeah, you don't fix it.
It's not fixable.
You just don't fix it. So, and that was the difference. That's what Steve Hayes and them were sort of fussing about in the 1980s when they began coming up with ACT.
Right.
So they started coming up with it in the 80s. The actual first book wasn't published till 98. Was it 98 or 99? One of the two. But what that rebelling against that fix-it, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, fix-it mentality, resulted in ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, and that therapy is the outcome is a process. Now, and if you think the culprits that send it back to mechanism are only, other psychotherapies other than ACT, au contraire. The very first commercial ACT book was ACT for Depression. Right back to fix it.
There's the pull. There's the pull.
And so if you're a purist, like I've been accused of being, and I probably am, ACT for anxiety, ACT for PTSD, all of those kind of titles all drag us back into ACT as an outcome, meaning it's going to reduce something.
We're going to manipulate it.
And it's not. So I don't know when we'll ever get past that, if we ever will. Because language just keeps dragging us back to the fix-it mentality.
Yeah.
So the basics of ACT are is that process. And you can focus on values work. You can focus on diffusion work.
Mm-hmm.
You can focus on mindfulness work.
Present moment awareness.
Present moment awareness, all of that stuff. All of those are just elements of process. None of them stand alone. They just don't stand alone. All part of, I got a direction, I'm noticing yucky stuff showing up. I spend some time taking care of the yucky stuff. Hopefully not too much time taking care of the yucky stuff. Why? So I can spend time approaching who and what's important to me.
Right. Keep going.
And from my observer self, my 30,000 foot view self, I'm noticing whether I'm getting where I want to go in life. And along this, I like to tell folks that the original name for ACT was comprehensive distancing. And that just means 30,000 foot view. What Phil's trying to do with that. You're trying to cue up this naturally occurring part of the human psyche, which is this observer self. And it comes about because we have language. They say, what do you mean? Well, if I ask you a question like, well, where were you born? And you go, oh, I was born in Kansas City. There we go. And so, right. And then here comes the next question. Did you grow up in Kansas City? And here comes the story. Right. Well, that story is being told by your observer self. That's what we mean. The language of telling your own history is done with the observer self, just there. Nothing that you have to cue up.
It's on board, running in the background.
It's always running in the background, but ACT is trying to strengthen that muscle. Let's put it. It's trying to get it to where it's noticing, is your story headed in the direction you want it to go? Or are you on, ooh, here it comes, are you on one of them dead end stories?
Oh, man. Like the woe is me story.
Yeah, the woe is me. I'm headed for oblivion. No, no. Right? And so this is about opening it up and getting folks on track. So now it's very, very useful for people to do that, and they enjoy it. And we have found that the best way to start is simply to show people that process.
Show the dog.
So we start that, we do that first, and then we explain the therapy and stuff.
Come back.
About that. And so that allows us to later on, when somebody says, well, just tell me what to do, now we can go, because, I mean, to answer that honestly, you would say, well, I can't tell you what to do. However, conversationally, that's not the best thing.
It's a clunker.
It's clunky, right? But now that we have the matrix up and somebody says, just tell me what to do, we can go, oh, wow, I wonder where that goes up here. You know, that you uttered that. Just tell me what to do. Did it feel like that was an upper right kind of question, or was that an upper left kind of question? Because I'll tell you right now, it was out in the open. I could hear it. So
Yeah.
it was in the upper.
It came at me.
Right. So was it an upper right question, or was it an upper left? Now stop. Where they put it doesn't mean anything. That's not the point of that question. The point of that question was to cue up the observer self. Remember I said it was all about building up the observer self? So if I answered the question, I can't tell you what to do, I did nothing for the observer self. Nothing.
It's just sitting there, unused, not available at that point.
And probably interpersonally, it wasn't a very good.
Yeah.
If I was out on a first date with somebody, I probably wouldn't say the words, no, I won't tell you what to do.
Yeah. That would be like a check mark.
Like, I might be in a conundrum because I'd really like to have a second date.
Yes. I'm working here.
What do I say?
Yeah.
Well, with the matrix up, we can say, was it an upper left or an upper right question? And now the person is back into the observer.
You step back.
They're stepping back. That's what we're up to. And you do that many, 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 many times. That's really what you're doing, is getting people so that, and the word we use in English is noticing. Okay, so you can go forth and notice when you're doing upper left stuff and when you're doing upper right stuff. By definition, everybody does upper right and upper left stuff. We just all do.
You go one way or the other.
But what we don't do is notice. So this is getting folks so they notice more. And the more you notice, the more the observer self is on board.
Use it right up nicely.
And the more it'll notice to adjust your behaviors so that they work for getting you where you want to go in life. It's usually around who's important to you. It's a very simple process. The simplicity of the process is in part the difficulty of the process. Because Your mind wants to think that it's really complicated.
Your mind does not like process.
Jung, that's who Jung, Jung, Carl Jung.
Oh yeah, Carl. Yes.
He was mentioned in the movie. Jungian.
Oh yeah, they were all Jungians back in the day. Woo.
Yeah, back in the day.
That was really big stuff then. Archetypes.
Which was kind of fixed, but by the way, which was trying to fix the internal workings of the human body. It too was fixing.
He was determined.
So back to it. So ACT is that simple. This introduction to ACT with the ACT matrix. So the way that you do that is you use the matrix was developed to show that ACT process quickly. What it's for. How to engage somebody in the process right away. Because that's what ACT is. It's not teaching. Not teaching.
Nope.
It is engaging people in a process.
Getting people into this space.
That's it. So, and you'll read the books, and they're a little bit complicated. And I'm not denying this. I did it too. You'll go about teaching it. I'll teach you what values are. I'll teach you what diffusion is. I'll teach you what present moment awareness is. I'll teach you what.
We'll do some exercises around X, Y, and Z.
Right. We'll do that, but these will all be in this really sort of teachy kind of almost, what do they used to call that? Bibliotherapy or psychoeducation? Psychoeducation.
Psychoeducation, yes.
You really, you lens over to doing psychoeducation. And the odds of the process getting started well are pretty.
You're telling, you're not showing.
Right, it's not. Sometimes the process gets started.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it doesn't. It doesn't get started. And so this is just about getting started on the process. Very quickly get started in the process. And people enjoy it. Now, back in all seriousness, folks, if you haul out the matrix, like Bill, and say, like, I work from this point of view, is it okay if I show you this point of view really quick? And they go, oh, yeah, sure. And you load it up there, and there's the cross, and you go, who's important, and this, and this, and noticing, da-da-da. Boom! Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I like this.
I like this. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Why is it interesting? Because they're looking at themselves with the observer self. Okay.
That's it. That's it.
Another way of saying it is, gee, I didn't realize I was so darn interesting.
Really? Yeah.
Talking like a true narcissist, right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, people like to talk about themselves, and then seeing yourself up on a diagram is really cool.
So the process, folks, with the matrix is that you're suddenly looking back on yourself, going, "Wow, there I am. That's interesting." And here you're going. Okay. And this, remember, Phil, when I mentioned the origins, the history of psychotherapy. Yeah, well, it's had some bad, some unkind words thrown in its direction, meaning that we've raised up a whole bunch of people to be narcissists.
I've heard that.
That the very act of having all of this psychotherapy going on in the world is like, it's all about me.
3 times a week psychoanalysis kind of thing.
Kind of draws out the pedagogy.
Yes.
Yeah, no lie.
Yes.
So it's just this. It's just psychotherapy writ large, as in some circles, including, I was reading, I think it was David Brooks' editorial this last Sunday, and he was talking about the narcissism of the therapy, you know, over the last several decades of therapy. Therapy really didn't exist till Freud and such.
No.
Some of the very, folks, if you'll think, and I'll take you through the history, it actually probably started with Anton Mesmer.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that is, Mesmer was doing things to influence other people using animal magnetism.
Yes, animal magnetism.
Turns out it was a form of hypnosis that gets picked up by Freud eventually, and Freud changes that into a psychotherapy, and then change through psychotherapy came into being. So that would have been in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yep.
Over
there in Vienna.
Yep. So psychotherapy is very young as history of human evolution. So back to, why does Kevin say all this? Because you can launch yourself out of that narcissism just like this. And you just say, and now we can look at a second loop. Same stuff, but let's look at a second loop. And remember that you're often, like with those important people that you've already described, your wife and son and daughters, are all there. And when you're with them, you have a shared purpose. You can ask them, what's our shared purpose? And boom, you just sprung yourself out of the narcissism and into social. I'm
Going from me to we.
I'm being a we being. There's power in numbers. We're in this together. Ta-da! It's not just all about me, it's also about us. And that's really important, folks. And that's why Phil and I almost always do both. Because we don't want to land on the narcissism loop. We don't want to land on that it's all about me. Yeah. There's quite a bit of that going on these days. You may have noticed. Sorry, I cracked myself up when I said that. I'm one for understatement, but boy, that was really an understatement. There's a whole lot about it's all about me. And in reality, it's all about us, folks. It's about us. And so the way Phil and I deal with that is we add the pro-social, called pro-social. So we add the pro-social, and then everything else stays the same. When you're working with other people, yucky stuff shows up.
We got social yucky.
Social yucky. We call it social yucky stuff. Yeah, people are a pain in the ass. There's no doubt about it.
They muck things up. They muck things up.
Right, myself included.
Yeah, I've been known to muck a few things up.
Right. We're all pains in the ass. However, that's what you got, right?
The only game in town.
And then we have these social, relief moves. Where we check our phones and we don't show up and we call in sick and we argue with people. And
yeah. Leave.
Have to be right all the time.
Yep.
That kind of stuff, all kinds of stuff. And in the upper right, we finally get about doing, well, what do we need to do to accomplish our shared purpose? Oh, yeah, we need to talk about that. And of course, we as a group, the individuals in the group can now come together and notice all of this stuff. And now you've done the pro-social, and you're out, and you've broken the bounds of narcissism
Yes.
that is inherent in psychotherapy. People ought to watch this.
Yeah, you might learn something.
Kevin getting on. You folks may not know, but I got quite the background in the history of philosophy and psychology and psychotherapy and stuff. Bill does.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. So that's how we, meaning Phil and I,
Yeah.
broke out of the narcissistic. It's all about me.
Start here,
You know. And,
move to here.
I'm not trying to be horrible. I mean, yeah, individually, if I'm sick, I want to get better.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But there's always an inherent bit of narcissism
Yeah.
that comes along with that. Just does. And, and a little bit of it's fine. But a lot of it, that's not so pro-social.
No. You're no fun to play with if you got too much.
Yeah, you end up being no fun, right? So that's why you'll wonder why we do the both loop. We call them do two loops. So when I say do two loops, well, that's why we do the two. Get out of that. But now back on the narcissistic side, once you show people the diagram, and now they can stand back and say, "Ooh, I'm doing stuff over there. Ooh, I'm doing stuff over there." They'll do what they need to do.
They'll figure it out.
They will figure it out. And a group, by the way, if you bring a group together and they look at their shared purpose,
bunch of people coming together for a shared purpose,
they will figure it out.
Awesome thing.
They'll figure out how to accomplish their shared purpose. It's pretty cool. So humans are pretty amazing when you get them situated in the context where they can notice what works.
Yeah.
The problem is many of us, myself included, spend way too much time in a state of mind that is not noticing what works.
Yep. Well, don't even get around to asking the question. Really?
Well said, Phil. Don't even get around to asking the question.
What do you mean? Never even occurs to you.
Oh, yeah.
Can't you see what I'm doing?
I forgot about that. So the act becomes a way of reminding yourself, ask, are my behaviors, both right and left side, get me where I want to go in life? And in regards to being with other people, are we, that is we, getting where we want to go?
Easy work.
Accomplishing our shared purpose. And it's wise for us humans to come back and talk about that often.
That's the other rinse and repeat part of the process.
Because you will forget.
Yes. Instantaneously.
By the way, when I say you, I'm pointing at me.
Yeah. It just pops right off.
But I will forget. Okay. And so more about how I want to feel going where I'm going. Wow. Well, then you would notice that and do behaviors that get you where you to the right feel spot.
Yeah.
But once again, it's a learning process that is you're doing it on your own.
Right. And Gabrielle, it is okay to not know where you're going.
Oh, I haven't a clue.
Yeah. I'm in a constant state of befuddlement myself.
However, I usually have a pretty clear idea of what to do for my wife.
There you go. Or what to do for my family. Or
So So I just fall back on that.
Yeah,
And
it's okay.
if I do that, it's a good start.
It's like a reset. Like we talk about it. It's like a reset. Oh, okay. Now I'm back to who's important to me. All right.
Back to use important. And then, oh yeah, we have a shared purpose.
Oh, right. What was that we had? Oh, yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah.
We're back to that. So as much as anything, ACT becomes a way of reminding ourselves to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Am I getting where I want to go? And feeling right while I'm doing that. Okay. Ask that question.
Yeah.
Are we moving toward our shared purpose?
Right. And towards that end, Juliana asked the question, how to work with clients that do not see our shared purpose anymore because they lost their dearest ones.
Oh yeah. That's hard.
That is rough.
That is absolutely rough. Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
Worst of human conditions.
Really, really painful.
Refinding that is that's what it's really about.
Yeah, that takes some soul searching.
Well, it takes some soul searching, but that's not the narcissistic BS
No.
that people get into, the worried wells.
Right.
Come in and, I'm not sure, they're worried. Then you have somebody showed up and they lost everything, including their loved ones.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Really.
That's the real McCoy. That's the real thing. Listen to their story and let's start rebuilding. Let's, if nothing else, you and I can be important to each other.
That's it. I'm willing to go with you on the journey.
I'll be right with you on the journey.
I'm right alongside here.
Right, I'll be right with you. Let's go. And if you need to start with me, great.
That's fine. Yeah. Been there and done that.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah, really, in all sincerity, yeah. Yeah, and let's, and then you find support groups and other people in the same position and stuff. And
looking for behaviors again now.
Yeah, this is, and Juliana, that is tough, hard work.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of that there in the Ukraine.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of that.
Imagine, yeah.
And you bet. But this work, now with that said, we've had the matrix intense in Afghanistan.
Yes.
People rebuilding lives just like what you talked about. So yes, it's not nobody.
No way, shape, or form are we trying to.
No way am I going to gloss over that. That's hard. However, is the process of living still the same? Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And to get back to that, even if it's tiny little steps at a time, do it. That is the case. If you can get more than one people in the room, that's great. They can share their misery with each other.
Yep.
And then they'll develop a shared purpose. You got it, but oh yeah. I mean, that just sucks.
Yeah. It's just.
And I always had the best luck acknowledging that just sucks.
Yeah.
And we'll just start from there. Build this back again.
Start right where they are.
It's like your house burned down and you got to rebuild the house, and it's not hard. It's not, it's not easy.
Yeah. And Yuliana, yeah, you say the same thing every day. Yep.
It just does. But the human condition is that for the most part, we don't give up. It sucks, but we pick up and we start again.
Yes.
But it starts with finding who's important.
Right back to it.
Finding where do you find meaning? I find meaning pushing a cart down the road, picking up bottles.
Great.
Whatever. Or bricks. Yeah. Or whatever. However you find meaning. And everything is on the table. Everything is okay. Anything that you can do to start just climbing back into life. Rough stuff. I've worked with quite a few people like that. So
have I. Yeah. People have lost it all. Ugh.
Yeah.
It is hard stuff.
Phil and I worked with pretty rough populations, not war-torn countries, but definitely some
Yeah,
different
people that lost everything, homes, their loved ones.
right. You know,
Yeah,
three down the road, we got something going.
Yeah.
However, that is definitely the case. And by the way, Juliana, that's where ACT does come in really handy because there's nothing to be fixed there.
Right.
They just lost everything.
It's gone.
It's just lost. You're not going to fix anything. So then we get back to, well, it's the process. Rebuild the process of life. Let's get back into it.
One step at a time.
Step at a time. So that really is, like somebody's been in a war zone and lost all their loved ones and stuff, and they're going to do cognitive behavioral.
No.
Absurd. I'm serious, folks.
Yeah.
That would be just numb as a rock absurd. I wouldn't do that. But ACT, in that regard, ACT can be very kind. Very kind. It meets people right where they are. This is the only place you can meet people, is right where they are. And sometimes meeting people where they are is very painful because where they are is a very painful
oof, tough place to be.
So, however, I found it to be a rewarding way to work with folks. So,
People I work with have found it to be very helpful.
oh yeah. So spread it around best you can, Juliana, and see how it works.
Yeah.
Absolutely well. We'll help out if we can. I don't think I can go to Ukraine.
No, that's not going to.
I think that would cause all kinds.
We'll keep doing our stuff.
But we'll keep doing our stuff. Right? We've, as I said, it's strange how many war zones the Matrix has ended up being part of. You can do it in a tent. You can do it. You can do it with pictures. Don't even need language.
Right.
Show the process. Get on about. Put back together a life. I don't know what we're going to do on Wednesday. We'll do something. Pro-social, maybe.
Yes, that sounds good. Something.
Something pro-social. Bye-bye, all.
Take care.